How to get a thigh gap, or what's being called now as leggings legs. Whatever, let's just get into the video. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Isabella Murray. I'm a fat loss expert as seen in various UK newspapers. So the thigh gap, or leg and legs as you see on social media, is when you're standing straight and your feet are together, you have a gap in between your thighs, hence the term thigh gap. There are a bunch of workouts online how to get a thigh gap, and they are all bullshit, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it's important you really understand the human body. Last one is genetics and bone structure has a lot to do with having a thigh gap. If you see my video on hip dips, then you know that skeletal system has a lot to play with how you look. And of course with a thigh gap, the same is true. Let's take a look at the bones involved. The distance between the pelvis plays the role into achieving the thigh gap. The greater the distance, the greater the likelihood of a thigh gap. Because your pelvis is attached to your femur, so the further away the pelvis is, the wider it is, the further apart your femur is. The femur is the bone in your thigh, so the further your thighs will end up being away from each other. The next is a pelvic tilt. It plays a role in appearance. Now this isn't just due to genetics, it's also due to muscle. For example, if I tilt my pelvis back, I can create the illusion of a wider thigh gap. Some people have their pelvis sit in a different tilt. And this pelvic tilt is how influencers can fool you, but also some people who may have a weaker back may have a different pelvic tilt. Some people with a weaker core. So this is something you need to factor in. Your knee joint can also play a role. For example, I had a client who had knocked knees, and that's also known as your knees being turned in. So when she was standing straight, her knees were curving in. It would reduce that thigh gap. Now, I'm not saying if you do not have a thigh gap, it's because you have knocked knees. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying there's different reasons as to why people don't have a thigh gap. One being your bone structure, the other one being your pelvic tilt, the other one being, if you are someone who has knocked knees, that could be the reason why. Another thing to factor in is your muscle mass. We carry muscles in our legs. If we focus on the femur, we have the quads, the quadriceps, which is the thigh, the hamstring, so the back of the leg. We also have adductors, and there are various muscles that falls underneath the adductors. If you grow these muscles, or if you naturally do have a lot of muscle in this area, it will reduce the appearance of a thigh gap. I have reduced my natural thigh gap over the years by building muscle in my legs. Now, just to make it clear, please do not focus on trying to shrink your muscles in achieving a thigh gap. I don't even want to call them influencers, because I think if you post stuff like this, knowing it's BS, you're not an influencer. I've seen influencers post videos on how to reverse bulky legs, and I'm just like, what is a bulky leg to you? Because they're like, oh, if you do this workout, you can reduce your excess muscle in your legs. What are you talking about? Please, I've seen influencers post videos online that do this workout, it will reduce your bulky legs. I'm not quite sure what they're trying to push here. I think maybe some of these dumb influencers are saying if you do this leg workout, which is just a body weight leg workout, you will then target the fat in your legs. Dumb on so many levels. You cannot spot reduce the fat in your leg, so doing that workout is pointless. Well, I've also seen some workouts where people are doing a leg workout video with weights and saying this will give you the thigh gap. I don't understand the logic behind that. Please do not focus on trying to shrink the muscle in the area, because that's not healthy. We have muscle for a reason. There is a lot of misinformation online, and it is very, very harmful. So again, in summary, if someone's posting a video on how to get a thigh gap, unfollow immediately. Why not block them? We don't need that kind of BS in our lives.